Good morning. In this lecture, we discuss instructions and suggestions for project P02, which we've titled Cartesian Product. From the title of the project, we can correctly infer that the object of this project is to design a program that will create a Cartesian product of two sets. Our first question is, how is a set represented? For the purpose of this project, we will represent a set as a list of strings. This representation is not perfect, but will suffice for the project. We will store a list of strings that represents a set in a text file. We will invoke our program on the Linux command line as shown. We can invoke it in one of three ways. We can invoke it as just the executable file name P02, or we can execute it as the executable file name with the input files, or we can execute it with the executable file name and the input files and the output file. So we see P02 i021.dat that contains the first input file, and the next one is P02 i021.dat and i022.dat. Those are the two input files. They don't need to be named, i021 and i022. They can have any name. And finally, our last invocation is P02 i021.dat, i022.dat, and o02.dat. You can find an outline of the program here below. So the first thing I think you need to do is create file P02 CPP that manages command line arguments and directs the processing of creating a Cartesian product. Start by entering the command line arguments program found in lecture note 1 of CMSC 2613 programming 2, which you can find on this URL. Modify the program so that it accepts 3 file names, 2 input file names, and 1 output file name. Make the manager function Cartesian manager shown below. The Cartesian manager accepts 3 arguments, 2 for the 2 input files and 1 for the output file. It creates list 1 for the first set, which corresponds to the first text file, first input text file, and list 2 for the second input text file. I see here that I have a miscomment. Then create the Cartesian product, which will be stored in the output file. And what we'll do is we'll call function Cartesian product with the 2 input files or the 2 input lists and create the output list C, which is the Cartesian print, and then we will print this file out using the print function of our class. So here I have a function Cartesian product. Cartesian product takes the 2 lists and the output lists and indexes through the first list, indexes through the second list inside the first list, and uses an insert function and a pair function that makes pairs out of members from list 1 and list 2. Here we have a brief version of pair, which takes a string X and a string Y and returns a string that is the tuple, a pair with enclosed in parentheses and separated by a comma. I have here file headers. We include cstandard-lib, cstring, iostream, iomanip, string, fstream, and we use namespace standard. We include list02 for class list. And we have several functions here, string pair, which we discussed above, and string Cartesian or Cartesian product, which we discussed above. We've discussed command line exception, which we discuss elsewhere, and file exception. Our main, here's an outline of our main. Case 1 prompts for the 2 input file streams and the output file. Case 2 copies the first input file and prompts for the remaining files. Case 3 reads both input files and prompts for the output file. Case 4 reads all the file names, and the default says this is impossible, so throw a command line exception. Then we open our input file streams and our output file stream, call Cartesian Manager, and close our output file and close our input files, and we are done. Here is an outline for class list. Class list has members, size, count, an array of strings to support the list, and a cursor that's the index of the first element, and members, two constructors, one that constructs an empty list and another that constructs a list and reads into the list the input file stream. We have a destructor, we have isFull, we have insert, scan, print, first, next, and isEOL. Here we have instructions for submission, which you can read at your leisure. And an example that is for stack. I hope you won't use the stack at all, but this is just an example of the form. We can see that the files are put in separate separate parts of the input file and labeled appropriately. It also includes a makefile, and I will want you to include a makefile. So there'll be 4 files that you'll submit with this project. There'll be p02.cpp, list02.h, list02.cpp, and p02make. And that concludes this lecture.